Hey y'all. My buddy Palmetto Paratrooper did a video on making small things like changing oil, changing tires and stuff. He did a video on making that part of the driver's test. And part of me wants to agree with that extremely. My tangent version of that is it's not the government's responsibility to make sure you know or your kids know what to do when their car breaks down. It would be nice if there was some kind of from a traffic standpoint, some kind of hey, do you know what to do if you have a flat tire instead of sitting in the middle of the road? But here, middle of nowhere, Arkansas, we don't have a lot of that traffic. We got tractor traffic, if you know what I mean. So my point is, my tangent on that is, men, teach your kids. I grew up, like I said in my response, I grew up, we helped change oil, we helped change tires, we learned these things from my grandparents, from my dad, from my stepdad, from our parents, So, yeah, you got to teach your kids to do things, I spent a couple of weekends doing things I didn't want to do. I had an old pickup truck that I never even got to drive. But I worked on that thing. I slaved over it. It was basically, if you want this truck, you got to prove it. And so every day after school, homework was done. Instead of going and playing with my friends or going and hanging out with the neighborhood kids, I went out and sanded on that truck. Physical labor, water sanding her down, got her nice and clean. I never even got to drive it. It didn't work out. We ended up getting rid of it before I was even old enough. So we're talking 14, 15 years old. But my point, back to my point, is men, even women, teach your children how to do things. Changing oil is easy. It's not hard. If you don't know how, find out how, learn how. You can learn how to do this. If you're a younger person and no one ever showed you, man, YouTube, ask me. I'll do a video on it, I guess. I don't know. There are so many ways to learn how to do little things like changing oil, changing a tire. We ran into an issue with that the other day. A lot of times people get frustrated with their situation and they don't back up and take a break, take a breath, and realize that everything you need is generally right there. This was a flat tire incident, and we didn't think we had not me, but we didn't think we had the right parts handy to take the tire off. Man, it was there. We just needed to take a break and back up and look. And they make these cars nowadays where everything is really handy and right there. So, man, this is really getting random at this point. But my point is, teach your children. It's not going to hurt them to miss that video game for a few minutes to come out and watch Dad change the oil, watch Dad change a tire, or go over their car on the radiator, how to check it, what the gauges mean in their dashboard. I mean, that's a big thing. That's a little thing that kids should know. Children, kids, like teenagers that are getting ready to drive. My daughter now, she's 13. She just turned 13. She's ready to drive, man. She drives my big 1-ton around here. She's always telling me, hey Dad, that sign means this. Hey Dad, this sign means that. My older children, they're in their 20s. They both struggled with the driving test. It was kind of odd to me because I got my driver's test done early. I wanted to drive, man. We didn't have a lot of games and stuff where I grew up. So yeah, the only way you could go have some fun is to go somewhere. So I was all over that driving test, and I failed it a couple of times, but I was young. It was well before my 16th birthday when I got my license. So that's basically my thing on this is teach your children how to do the things to survive, to get by, to be better than what they are now. Pastor Joe on Viking Preparedness, he says, you know, every day try to get better. Do that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can get better. Help your children get that step ahead. I feel like there's going to come a time when you're going to have people who can do things and people who can't do things. And honestly, that time is pretty much now. In the bigger cities, there are people that come to jobs and don't know how to do anything. And, you know, we're not talking about 20-year-olds. We're talking about 30 and 40-year-olds. And it's amazing how they even got by. So this is a random tangent coming from Palmetto Paratroopers video. It's probably 5 times as long, but I'm just rambling about it right now. But I think you should teach your kids how to do things. I think you should learn. If you don't know how to change your tire, you need to do it. Well, the wife wants me to cut this log or cut this tree down, get it off of our little building here. So I'm fixing to go to work. I'm fixing to go do it. We're gonna chop and get her done, right? Ready to rock. And no, I'm not gonna cut it down with an axe. I'm gonna use my Husqvarna. But all right, we'll see you guys around.